Hi, and welcome to episode 1. We are the Wizard and the Priestess, and we're very excited to be talking with you all today. My name is Nuala, my co-host is
Matt, accompanied here by Nuala, the Priestess.
and Matt the Wizard.
So we just really want to share our experiences with you guys, the listeners, and hopefully give you a new perspective, new way of looking at things. Thrown in with some inability to manage technology and
Mainly
have a bit of a laugh.
Part.
And on the wizard's part, put some magic spells out there. And I've got my big hat on. That's a lie. I'll get a big hat though.
Looking forward to the big hat.
Yeah, I'll show you all. So Nuala, you're an acupuncturist on paper. What else can you tell us about you?
Well, Matt, I am an acupuncturist, that is right. I am also a mother of 2 babies and a partner and a clinician. First and foremost, I am a woman of the earth, honouring and trusting all that is of the world and in the world. I take the viewpoint of health and wellness from a holistic lens, being reminded every day that the sun will continue to go up in the morning and set in the evening. And something about that feels pretty magical.
So when did all that start for you? Is it when you left school or growing up?
I was always a little bit alternate growing up compared to my 3 brothers. I always questioned things more than they did.
Allowed. I mean, yes, they did.
And I think I just found myself walking a path that was slightly different. I often liked and gravitated towards different things. I had some good friends that were a little bit alternate growing up, and I think I was influenced by her or them to just start thinking outside of the box and to just be a little bit more curious about what's around us.
So what about acupuncture? How did that come into play?
Acupuncture came into play because I flunked the HSC.
Better than me, I didn't even make it that far.
Well, there we have it. You don't need to do so well. I guess we've heard that all before, but didn't do as well as I was hoping. I was hoping to get into at least psychology to work my way into psychotherapy, but in the end, my UAI score got me into the best it could get me into was Chinese medicine. And then I applied for Chinese medicine because it was one of the closest degrees to home, Bankstown, UWS, and jumped in on that. And after my first lecture, I was hooked.
You're right. I did not know that. I think you know someone. So what drew you into it? What was it about that lecture?
I think it was that lecture was all about understanding what Chinese medicine was all about on a very basic level. So talking about the yin and yang and the energy of night and day, light
Forces
and
that create
darkness.
everything, right?
Totally. So I think that it just really solidified everything that I was already very curious about, and it solidified that for me.
Yeah, nice. How old were you when that happened?
I was 18.
18. Just a pup. So Nuala and I share the same birthday. I got a few years head start, but we don't need to go into that. So you were 18, found your calling.
Yep.
And that was a 4-year degree?
4-year degree, yep.
So 22. What does 22-year-old
22-year-old Nuala then
priestess do?
Priestess. She leaves Sydney and travels to China for a end of degree 3-month hospital visit in China to...
Is that with the degree? So everyone...
Most people should do it. You need 1,000 hours of training.
Yeah, okay.
So people do it here in Australia, but I think that obviously in China you're immersed in the hospitals that are functioning constantly. So I went to China for 3 months, and from there I made my way to Sweden with the intention to travel and experience the world. So I wanted to finish my degree and travel as much as I could. So that's what 22-year-old did, and then started working and then met my Swedish partner, who I have now been with for 12 years.
Get serious.
Serious quick. Jumped straight in.
That's it.
And then I moved back to Australia, worked with some practitioners, worked in my own clinics, moved back to Sweden, lived there for almost 6 years, and then we moved back as a family 6 years ago. And then we have been in Sydney, Cronulla ever since.
Boom. And you also do women's circles and
Yeah. So along the
birth stuff.
line, along the path or along the way, I became a yoga teacher. I did my yoga trainings, did numerous yoga trainings, and taught lots of classes for a long period of time. Recently, I've just been honing my skills as a clinician. And then I also, more in recent last few years, I have collected a group of friends and women who are very like-minded in terms of connecting to each other in circle, and we have together formed a full moon group. So we celebrate the full moon or connect on the full moon every month and talk through what's coming up and express and release all that we need to. And yeah, so I host those at the moment.
So you were mentioning, was it the eclipse?
Yeah.
The solar eclipse, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago.
There was a couple. There was solar eclipse, and then there was the
Yeah, I think
lunar
it's
eclipse.
solar first.
Yes.
And you said something about Libra getting their asses kicked with the solar eclipse.
Who?
Librans?
Oh yeah. I honestly can't remember.
Because I remember that
week.
week because my ass got kicked.
Yes.
Just, yeah, energetically. Had
Energy.
nothing in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Then spoke to you about it.
Yes.
And you basically put everything into place. So I remember walking by stupid son.
Well, not stupid son. But we also always have the opportunity. So any energy that's coming around us, we have the opportunity to hook into it and bring it into our bodies, and we have the opportunity to allow it to just be. And I guess we got to remember that we get to choose that, and you're always choosing. I guess it's different male to female, but being really conscious of that as well is really important, because as a woman, we're moving with the moon more so because of our cycle and our menstruation. Whereas as a man, you have 24 hours, so you can choose whether you hook in or hook out. And sometimes it's really hard not to be immersed, and it's bringing up things, and you have an opportunity. It's always a choice and an opportunity to either dive in and allow it to elaborate and fester as well. And then, but there's always moments of dispersion, and you always have that moment of release as well. So yeah, when life feels like it's kicking your butt, sometimes I do look at the astrology and look at the moon and see how that's going. And it definitely seems to be very profound in my life, but it also, I then remember that I do get to choose this life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I remember when I was studying a bit of Eastern philosophy, not as much as you would have delved into. But I got studied into Eastern philosophy when I actually got a few mental health patients.
Oh, yeah.
And they went through the system and wasn't quite cutting it for them. So I was looking at primary sources of energy, and what I came across was our primary source of energy was the sun and the moon. So we follow the solar lunar rhythms. Then it's the astrological frequencies. And if you think about all kind of star signs, they have their own personality traits and all that kind of stuff. So that stuff, like the stars do shape us. So it's really undeniable. I know it's a bit airy-fairy foo-foo for some people.
Yeah, well, the planets and everything is continuously moving, so we are in flux constantly. So if we can pretend all we want that we are not impacted by the tides, even being a human or being a being with, I don't know, the current, it was 60% water, then it was 90% water. I don't know exactly how much water is in my body, probably less than yours.
Well, should we mention that? Are we allowed to mention the pregnancy thing?
Oh, right. Well.
I just have. Okay, good.
Yes.
So you're, how is 10 weeks?
No, I am 8 weeks, Matt.
8 weeks.
I know I look almost
Hey.
6 months.
No chance I'm getting in that fight.
No, I am 8 weeks pregnant currently. And
so if Nula's just spontaneously angry, she's got the best excuse in the world for the next
I'm not an angry pregnant woman. I am a water priestess.
Water priestess. Watch the flow.
Yes. So I think that's enough about me, Matt. So everyone, this is Matt the Wizard.
I'm not pregnant.
He is currently not pregnant, no. And Matt, would you like to tell us how you became the wizard?
I can't remember how I got the label of the wizard. Was it you or was someone else said it to me?
It may have been other people, but I definitely have.
You have called me
shared.
that. You call me worse things, but that's one
That
of the
is-
things that I never went to uni. I didn't even make year 12. I left school, I think, in year 11.
Right.
That's how academic I was back in the day. I'm a couple of years older than you, so it's like horse and cart.
Awesome card era.
Horse and cart era. So back in the 1600s when I went to school.
Could have been so.
Could have been. I was a greenkeeper back then. So
Loves the grass.
loves the grass, can grow shit. But that taught me at the time a lot about the soil.
Ah, yes.
From there, I went into nutrition. And the funny thing about nutrition, when I did advanced diploma in, where was I? Between London and France at the time, there was very little about the soil. So largely it was chemical nutrition, but it was still largely about food. And the biggest shock I got was when I did the study in nutrition in Europe. It didn't translate to anything here in Australia. Here you had to do the 4 or 5 year degree on chemical nutrition to be called anything regarding anything remotely nutrition related at all. So did personal training instead.
So you came back from overseas.
Back from
Did
overseas.
personal training.
I did greenkeeping first, came back in a little bit of debt, as you do when you're a young wizard in Europe. And then so I just got a quick, easy job greenkeeping. That was slowly destroying my soul. Got out of that, did personal training, and then I'll get into the Czech stuff in a second. But that's when it really, really escalated for me. So I can't remember what year it was. I think it was my second year of being a PT. Dad got diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I remember going into the hospital to see him, being genuinely appalled that a system can treat a human being like that. And if anything feeds cancer, it's sugar. So I go in there one morning between clients and I saw Fruit Loops, orange juice, and ice cream for his breakfast. I'm sure you could probably fit more sugar on a plate, but it's a great try. So I said, Dad, don't eat that shit. Let me go home, make you something. Just hold out till lunchtime. Went home, made him some, I couldn't even tell you what I made him. Couldn't believe what I saw. So I took some fruit, veg, and a couple of leftovers for dinner. The nurse in the hospital wouldn't let me
Feed it to him.
give him the food. She said, no, that's not approved. So I said, what, food's not approved in the hospital? She said, no, it's got to be screened. The screening process essentially goes through a microwave. So it essentially kills the food before they get to eat it. Long story short, I may or may not have expressed how I felt about that. Almost got kicked out. But it was just the whole, like, that's what they do to people. And maybe it's not their fault. They just get told what to do, which is fair enough. But that really sparked in me a good 10-year journey of studying and working 12 to 16 hours a day on anything you could possibly think of. So there's lots of rabbit holes, then getting into the Czech program, going through all the levels of the Czech Institute's trainings, from the physical, the mental, the emotional, then getting into the spiritual, and then studying massage therapy, visceral manipulation, neural and vascular manipulation, your favourite thing, dry needling. A separate podcast, that one. Done all the strength conditioning. That was actually when CrossFit was becoming a thing. And I'm sure that's your favourite mode of exercise. Yeah. And so that gives you an indication. That was, I think, 16 years ago, coming up to 16 years ago. And then for the last 6 years, I've been into the mental, emotional kind of stuff. But my real, let's say, spiritual journey started when I broke up with my ex-fiance.
Big. We go on that. Go big, go hard, go home.
Go hard, go home. Well, there's an old saying that if you want to meet the devil, pick fight with Jesus.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is if you want to go through a spiritual journey, go through like a breakup like that and see what comes back at you.
Yeah, right.
So since then, that's kind of been on steroids in a way.
Yeah.
But that's what's led me ultimately to right here, right now. Wizardry. Essential wizardry. So that's me.
Well, Matt, I knew most of these things. but it is really cool to see how your journey has evolved and how you now stand with your hat tall and your spell,
and my staff, everything.
everything. Incredible. There are many things that Matt didn't mention, and that is the way that Matt is a clinician. And I have experienced firsthand the way that he gets into your brain and gets into your body and then just manipulates you really gently and softly. And then all of a sudden, your body is able to shift and adjust in a way that I've never experienced with any other clinician. Very similar sensations, maybe to a soft acting osteopath, but what I haven't felt from an osteopath is the emotional release and adjustment. And that obviously is a culmination of all those pieces that you've kind of explored and, journeyed through to allow yourself to bring all of that together and now just kind of act as the wizard. And I think that's where the name the wizard comes from my perspective, is based upon the fact that I had been in a state of stress, fight, flight sensation, trying to work and do all the things. And I would go to Matt and he would look at me and say, righto, sit down.
Straight up.
Get out. You're on your way out. No. And I would sit down and then there would be, this just such a gentle awareness of how my body was moving out of alignment. But obviously, with the years of experience that you have, you've been able to really hone in on those skills and gently move my body in a way that then just allows the rhythm to start back up. And I think that's something that both of us are really particular about, is to ensure that we are supporting the body to refine the rhythm that is already underlying, is already there. We're not trying to shake and change you and adjust you. We just want you to, we are adjusting you gently, but it's energetic.
It's really subtle.
And subtle. And that aspect of being whole, that we are whole.
Yeah, I think it's important that the way we would work with people would be similar-ish. It's more systemic from a clinical point of view. And most people will work from like a typical massage therapist, chiropractor, etc. They'll work from the outside in, where we kind of do it from the inside out. The suspicion I had years ago was that we have joints, muscles on the outside of the body, or the more superior aspect, superficial aspect, where deeper you've got organs, you've got glands, you've got nerves, arteries, etc. They're more vital to your survival than your arm is. So you can't live without your liver, but you can live without your arm. So when you get into pain, stress, etc., you go into survival mode. So what are you trying to survive? What are you protecting? So that's where I come at it from, whereas acupuncture, you open up the entire meridian. So
the way that I think I have also honed my skills more and more recently is to connect more into, like, really connecting into someone. So in Chinese medicine, we have the 5 elements, and every element has an emotion and a function. And when we really connect to those functions, then we can allow the motion and the movement to really show us what's going on. Like, you can just walk in and tell me that, oh yeah, I'm just stuck rethinking these thoughts over and over and over again, and I'm not actually getting anywhere. And it's so clear that it's like, oh, okay, yeah, right. So you're not digesting, you're not getting the fruits of you're not yielding the fruit of your knowledge, and then allowing it to move into the next part of the cycle, which is the acceptance and let go. And so when you see something like that, you can't unsee it, and it's so clear from our perspective. It's like, yeah, okay. But as a normal lay person, it's hard to understand.
Well, yeah, because you're stuck in that. You just feel stuck.
Yep.
You can't see outside because you're too far in. But all the bodies feed into each other.
Yeah.
Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual.
Yeah. So that's our big thing, is to be holistic in all of those and work together with all of it. And that is essentially what we want to be able to share with you all more and more as the days go by.
We'll get there.
And yeah.
Well, thanks for listening to us, guys. This is episode number 1. We will be with you next week for installment number 2.
Take care.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Wizard and the Priestess. Thanks for stopping by. Stay connected, and be open.